Sharon Tazwell. This is a special report on Spectrum News. President Donald Trump has announced on Truth Social a ceasefire deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. On Truth Social, President Trump says, "I am very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is in capital letters, great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers." Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Well, during an unrelated event Wednesday, Trump was handed a note by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and then told reporters in the room that a deal was very close. We are still awaiting official word from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas leadership. The deal comes just a day after Israelis marked 2 years since a Hamas attack on a music festival killed 1,200 people and taking more than 250 others hostage. The attack launched the war in Gaza that has killed more than 67,000 people, according to Gaza health officials. And our Evan Koslof joins us now from Washington with more on this. Evan, the deal comes as U.S. officials were in Egypt for continued peace talks among the two sides. What can you tell us about the ceasefire deal?
Right. First, it's worth just stopping for a moment to realize how big of a moment this is. We've had 2 years of war there in Gaza ever since the October 7th attack. And now it appears, according to this post, that we might be close to an end. We had a feeling this might be coming because earlier in the evening, the president was interrupted by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, with that note, reading in part, "We need you to approve a Truth Social post soon so that you can announce the deal first." Now it appears where you're getting a look at that post, which was just on the screen there. Now, it mentioned two factors in that post, that all the hostages will be released, and then also that Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed upon line. That is just two of many parts of the 20-point plan that the president released last week. Other parts of that deal were that Israel would release thousands of Palestinians, including 250 life sentence prisoners. Hamas would have to disarm, and they would have no role in governance. Aid would be allowed into Gaza Strip. It would be flooded in, and there would be a transition governance that would be overseen by a board of peace in which the president would be the chair. It's still unclear if all of this is going to be included in this final deal, because as you asked there, Sharon, they have had these negotiations underway all week in Egypt. They have representatives not just from the U.S., but also Qatar and Turkey, Egypt, that were there to discuss what this deal would look like. So we are going to have to wait a beat, I think, to get the final picture of what it all looks like. But certainly it does appear to be a big day after we had news about this ceasefire, Sharon.
Definitely. And Evan, we are just hearing from the Associated Press, who reports that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says, with God's help, we will bring them all home following the deal. Now, Evan, earlier Wednesday, the president said he may head to the Middle East later this week. What can you tell us about that? And what can we expect to see in the Middle East over the coming days?
All right, so this is all happening very quickly. In fact, we heard from the White House press secretary that the president on Friday morning would go to Walter Reed for his routine checkup, and then shortly after, he might be heading to the Middle East. We don't know the details about where in the Middle East, although the president did say when he was speaking at the White House earlier in the day that he does think Egypt would be one of those destinations. He was asked about whether he would visit to Gaza, and he said that that's also something he would be open to. But certainly it does appear, after we saw this social media post, that the president is likely to be heading there on Friday to the Middle East to celebrate what could be an apparent ceasefire deal. It's worth noting that the president had this big announcement with Netanyahu on his side there. That was last week when he hosted Netanyahu here in Washington, D.C. It's not an easy task to get Israel on board with this plan, as well as Hamas. But it appears that after 2 years of war where there's just been so much devastation that there might be this light at the end of the tunnel. All of this, of course, based off of the horrendous attack on October 7th, where we had 1,200 people killed, over 250 hostages taken, and then, of course, we've seen tens of thousands of deaths in Gaza following the operation. There's just been so much pain from all of this over the last 2 years. Now we might be nearing an end, Sharon.
Yeah, we have been waiting for this announcement, very much so. Evan Koslof, thank you so much. And of course, we'll continue to follow developments right here on Spectrum News. I'm Sharon Tazwell. More news right now on Spectrum News.